Into the world of Yoledes, which particularly is in Siman Shin Lamed in Hilchos Shabbos, which is coined by the Machaber himself, Dinei Yoledes b'Shabbos. Now, Yoledes on Shabbos has fascinating dinim. Hopefully, together with Yoledes b'Shabbos, we'll try to throw in some of the dinim of Yoledes stam. There are other dinim of Yoledes that get mixed into the mixed. So we'll throw that in as well. Just to begin, we just pointed out that there is a Kaf HaChaim, not the Kaf HaChaim, but rather a Chaim Pelagi. Wow, people are getting emotional about that one. That says a fascinating, based on, that he argues in a Sefer Chasidim. There's a Sefer Chasidim that says that in the 9th month, one should daven Shlo Teiled Ishtei B'Shabbos, Sheichal Shabbos Alav. And the Teres Yoledes is probably the sefer on Yoledes, written by Yevzik Zilberstein. And over there, he quotes the Sefer Chasidim, and he writes that what's the reason? The reason is you might do too much. You might do too much in the matziv. You know, it's true that you have a heter, as Sif Aleph here says, Yoledes hi kechayla sheyesh b'yisakana u'machal aleh Shabbos chol mashet tzricha. And your Mechal Shabbos, but l'chol mashet tzricha doesn't mean that on the way to the hospital, pick up a box of donuts. Or close the cab door. Right, exactly. So that's the reason why the Sefer Chasidim writes that you should daven, that you shouldn't get into this matziv. L'maisa, the more Hasidic Shasfarim bring down this, the Nitei Gavriel, the Piskei Tshuvas, they bring down this vart. However, the normal, I should say normal, that's not nice. The more, I guess Litvish is the right way to put it, just so that everyone feels taken care of, is that we don't really do these things. They quote B'Shem Rav Vosner that Lamaisa, he never davened for such, etc. Now, if one stam wants to have a baby on Shabbos just because they have like this nostalgic thing about spending Shabbos in a hospital, that's like, okay, that's daven for whatever you want, but that's not what we're talking about over here. But what does happen when the 9th month comes? So when the 9th month comes, there are special dinim about what you are supposed to do, in preparation. First of all, stam, yeah. That's what he's saying. That's what he is being befires, but the Sefer Chassidim doesn't say that, and it sounds more that it's. Like
I guarantee you.
Yeah.
For me, I guarantee
Good.
there's going to be.
Yeah. Say that. That's what we're going to learn halachas. Therefore, we're going to have the issue. We're going to have the issue. So let's. Good. So says the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah. It comes the 9th month. Min haroi, says Mishnah Berurah. L'isha shegiya l'chodesh tishi'i. What should she do? Lahazmin b'chol erev Shabbos kol hadvarim hanetzrachim la. So this is not an emotional female need to pack a bag, because we might go to the hospital, and it's not the masculine response of, no, we only began the 9th month, you don't have to worry about it. No, it's a halacha. The halacha says that when the 9th month begins, you should have everything you need. Why? Maybe it's going to happen, and therefore, and you want to prevent as much as necessary, and therefore, halacha number 1 is when the 9th month comes, you should have everything you need. Now, the original makar of this is, says the Sefer Chasidim, you want to have hot water so that if you're dealing with the Leida on Shabbos, you have everything ready. I don't think anyone is, doing such. Even if you're planning on a home birth, whatever. Let's leave it at that. But you should have everything that you prepared. Just as an aside, like we quoted before, the Gemara Nida Daf Lamachas says, Chasidim Rishonim lo misham shemitaseim elo b'Revi'i b'Shabbos. Husband and wife of Chasidim Rishonim would only be together on Wednesday nights. Why? So that they don't come to Hilchos Shabbos by giving birth on Shabbos. That's Rashi. Rashi says, Shlo Teilid b'Shabbos v'yitzarech lechalul aleha es haShabbos. Yes, absolutely fascinating how their bodies were mamish like clocks and machines. And that's Rashi. The Mishnah Berurah that we just quote says, Min harai, that you should prepare on Erev Shabbos. The Aruch HaShulchan bumps it up a level. He says, Chasidim Anshe Ma'isa, prepare an Erev Shabbos. But in this din of preparing an Erev Shabbos, what goes into this din? What goes into this din is, first of all, to learn the halachas. That's the chayr number one, because you could only avoid Chol Shabbos if you know the halacha. If you don't know the halacha, you could prepare all you want, but what exactly are you preparing? But also, included in this halacha is, there's lots of Torah which you're not getting involved in. You let it go away, and therefore you're going to have to travel outside of the tchum. You have a chiyuv, maybe, we could just ask as a shayla, maybe every person in the 9th month is a chiyuv to rent an apartment next door to the hospital, so that when the wife goes into labor, they don't have to call a cab. And you're going to say, what do you mean? That's crazy. Oh, you have to spend, $200 every Shabbos. Why not? Why not? For Hilchos Shabbos, who says you don't have to? The answer is we don't have to. And the answer is why that's true is nice. Torah. The L'chaira, we could add on a different reason. We're going to see very soon. There's something called Yisuve Daita, Yishav Hadas. We in Halacha, and particularly in Hilchos Yoledes, care a lot about the mental well-being of the patient, of the Yoledes, of the woman. So maybe we could suggest, you don't have to stay in the apartment next door to the hospital for that reason. Shkayach, we can call him room. The Yishuv Adas of the Chayla is very important, and therefore she has to be able to rest, and she has to have the appropriate energies in order to be able to give birth. So, and this is, there are just in case you think it's crazy, when they asked Rav Nemensal, he said, Nirlani is daiti, that you should not travel far. Shouldn't be far because you're going to add on extra Chol Shabbos. Okay, just balabatis. You shouldn't be traveling far because you want to make it to the hospital. You don't want to be that person giving birth on the wherever that happens. Good. So what do you have to do when it comes to 9th month? You have to prepare everything beforehand. What's included preparing everything beforehand? So the shayla has gotten much easier. It used to be there's something called you had to pre-register in the hospital. I don't think that still exists. Does it still exist? In Israel, forget about it. You got to give them over your life beforehand, or else But does it? I don't think. Does it? Some hospitals still exist here. Okay. You do have to. Okay, good. So it does exist, and so therefore, in the 9th month, you should pre-register. Why? Because if you're not registered and you show up on Shabbos, say, okay, no problem. They pull out the paperwork and they want to make you sign. So l'chaira, one has a chiyuv to pre-register. Not l'chaira, excuse me. One has a chiyuv to pre-register before Shabbos in order to ensure that you don't come to excessive Chol Shabbos. But again, we'll say this disclaimer once, and hopefully we won't continuously repeat it, although we usually do. That let's say you didn't. We're talking here in the world of lechatchila. We have to be careful because someone hears such a thing and they come to the hospital and, before they're going to attend to his wife, they ask to sign the dotted line. He says, no, I'm not signing the dotted line. If his wife is sitting there giving birth on the chair in the waiting room and he's busy saying he's not signing the dotted line, it could get into a messy situation, kipshutai. And therefore, don't be silly. Don't be silly. Now, the hospital also shouldn't be silly. And if you're not signing, I think they legally have to take care of you. But if it comes to that, it's really the rule in all of Chil Shabbos for a chayla sheyesh b'sakana. We're going to be discussing a lot of lechatchilas, a lot of what you should avoid. But when the dust settles and push comes to shove, exactly, and it comes down to it, you're allowed to do everything and anything to ensure the utmost shmiras Shabbos, but shmiras life. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, very good, good. So good. That's what we're going to get to. Is that, but lemaisa, even within the matziv, there's always a mailos. These are, maybe we should do that. Let's zoom out a little bit and let's just give like 3 klalim. So that was klal number 1. Is that if push comes to shove, saikanas nefashos, you're allowed to do everything. What does it mean? Everything. Everything. Yes, there's a maila to use a guy, and there's a maila to call with the shinui, and there's a maila. But the bottom line is, if a woman's giving birth and there's no guy and there's no this and there's no that, you throw her in the car and drive. No, but I got to borrow my neighbor's Tesla because then it's only a Durabanan. No, just get in the car and go. Yes, or Shlomo Zalman says that when you're driving, you should avoid pressing the gas so much and you should more cruise and don't signal. And he says open the window and use hand signals. But then he adds at the end and he says, but if you're not proficient at what I just said, don't do any of it and drive like a normal person. And I think we're all just going to go with that one because we have no clue what that means. There are those people like when the gas is running, like, no, you keep the car neutral and you don't press the gas so much. Like, so if you're that person, what?
A driving teacher can't go down a hill.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're that person, you put it to neutral. So if you're that person, then that's called avoiding Hilchos Shabbos. But for the rest of us humans, mere mortals, at that point, you're allowed to do everything. Yes, you show up to the hospital and they want you to sign. Yes, maybe at the front door you should wait for the guy to come and open the door so you don't electric sensor. But if the baby's halfway out, that's not the time to be worrying about all these things. So number one is don't use your brain if it's time imminent, if it's a sakana, if there's a heart attack, if there's blood everywhere. Just do what you would do on a Tuesday, weekday. Good. Number two is what Ramaishi just said, is that there's a very important klal in all of Pikuach Nefesh, all of Chilul, which we'll call Shmiras Shabbos, is Kal Kodim. Is that if it's not time sensitive, then you want to minimize as much as possible. So for example, you just gave a perfect example, you didn't pre-register. Why didn't you pre-register? Because you didn't. Yes, you or your wife, whichever one is the one that's on top of these things, harassed the other one to do it for 6 months, but the other one didn't do it. And the bottom line is, you show up to the hospital and the papers weren't signed. Good. They say sign on the dotted line. So first of all, a lot of hospitals, if you tell them, I'm a Sabbath observer, I can't sign, can I sign after Shabbos? They'll take verbal consent and they'll do whatever you need to do and they'll sign after Shabbos. That's just them. We should know we do live in an anti-Semitic world nowadays, but we also live in a Jew-friendly world. And if one says, I'm a Sabbath observer and I can't sign, often that's enough and they'll do whatever you need to do. Let's say it's not. So again, you want to try to ask to speak to a manager. It depends on the matzif. Sometimes that makes it that much worse. So what do you do? So yes, the answer is you have to sign. Fine, how do you sign? So 100%. So you know a little bit. You don't really know all of Hilchos Kaisev, but you do know one thing is that signing with your hand and signing with, let's call it your left hand, or signing with, your mouth, is going to be called a shinoi. Now, if you try to sign with your mouth, I don't know if the hospital is going to let that so much. You tell them, no, this is how I always write. I'm very good at this. I don't know if it's going to work out so well. But you could try. You could certainly try. And that is the rule of a kal kodim, which is going, and this is going to keep on coming up. For example, and we're going to get this more in order, but okay, so she's in labor, mazel tov. Wonderful. So she decides she wants to go to the hospital. Beautiful. So does that mean I just go in the car and drive there? Absolutely not. Why? Because again, it's not time sensitive. So if it's not time sensitive, we have the rules of kal kodim, which is what? You want to minimize malacha. How do you minimize malacha? By doing Isuri Derabanan before Isuri Deraisa. What's an Isur Deraisa? To drive the car. What's an Isur Derabanan? To have a guy drive the car. So what do? Have a guy drive the car. Well, where do you find a guy to drive the car? Go inside and flag down a guy. That'd be a little bit weird. Or you could call a cab. How do you call a cab? Within every single step, there are steps of kal kodim. How do you call the cab? So this goes back to what we're talking about when the 9th month comes. Says Mr. Bura min Harayu to prepare. Says the Archashochan Nashim Chasidim prepare. What do? You get a cab number. Just because, wife's in labor, open up the computer, let's start Googling cab numbers. That's not, now, again, and we're going to try to keep on not making this disclaimer. If you don't and you need to find the cab number, you're allowed to, but you should have the number. And yes, it should be programmed into your phone. And yes, you should minimize, what? It should be on speed dial. And yes, it should be minimized. And yes, your phone should be kept, it depends on your battery level. Yes, the phone should be always on. And yes, you should remove all your security features so you don't have to start putting in 12 passwords and your face recognition and everything else and then finally getting your phone on. You should disable everything. If you didn't, you could use it. But of course, you should disable everything so that you could go straight. Now you call the cab. Good. That's disclaimer number 2. And disclaimer number 3 is, number 1 is when it's a gun tzavashas, you do everything. Number 2 is you want to avoid as much as possible. And number three, which is really when we put 1 and 2 together, is often when you're dealing with sekanas nefashos, the answer is going to be, what would you do on a weekday? And now that it's Shabbos, you're going to do the same thing. Meaning, the woman goes into labor. So she wants to know, what do I do? Well, what would you do on a Wednesday? On a Wednesday, you would call out Salah and go to the hospital? No. So why, just because it's Shabbos, we have like this thing? Shabbos, whenever there's a problem, we call out Salah. Well, what does that Salah have to do with this right now? What would you do on a Wednesday? You would call your doctor. Okay, so call your doctor. You would call your labor coach. Call your labor coach. You'd call your, who else are we calling? Your mother, I don't know. Call your mother. Yeah, call her up. So that's what you should be doing. That's what you should be doing. You should not just be running. Why? Why? Because this is part of the brain chelik. Because you just run to the hospital and, then, you tell them, oh yeah, I'm having a contraction every 27 minutes. They tell you, call Tov, I'll see you next week. It's not happening. Then you get into a new shiloh, how you're going to get home, which we're going to get to. So whatever you're going to do on a weekday is the same level of seichel that needs to be utilized to be done on Shabbos. That's really klal number 3. Yes?
Is there column number 4 that there's a chiluk between you or your wife doing it?
Oh, that is the biggest, so much so, I actually underlined this today in this wonderful, cute little sefer. Just call it cute because it's very short. It's an Aruch HaShulchan and a Taz. This is called Refuah Shlema. I don't know, looks nice and short. But either way, I actually underlined this today. I didn't end up saying it, but it's a nice line. He quotes it here from a Taz. I thought it was an Aruch HaShulchan, but Aruch HaShulchan is by quoting the Taz. This is the number one question in all of Refuah. There is a chayla. The chayla has a heter to do something. Can I do it for the chayla? The answer is, if there's a heter, it makes no difference who's doing it. You could do it, the chayla could do it. You don't have to start, the woman's in labor and telling her, no, you have to call. Like, no, just pick up the phone and call. She's in the hospital. And there's no milo. There's no milo. That is the lashon of the Taz in Shir Chav Ches Yud Gimel. He quotes from the Taz. I had remembered it being a Mishnah Berurah straight, but it's the same level. It's a lot exactly, perfectly. There's one level. There's one Isser of Hilchos Shabbos happening. Doesn't make a difference who is the one that is doing it. Now, you should know that's going to apply at many stages, just to play out what you just said, because when after the Leida and she's going to need something, so okay, you're going to try to ask a guy, as we're going to talk about. But let's say there is no guy. And let's say you have to press the call button, lemashal. So yeah, the l'chatzchila should be done with a shinoi. Now, is there going to be a difference between she doing it and you doing it for her? The answer is going to be the exact same thing. The answer is going to be no, because once the malacha has to be done, it's all the same thing. So those are our general klalim. Now, I want to read you the lashon. I think I have the lashon here. Give me 1 second. If I have the lashon, I'm going to read it for you. 1 more second. 1 second. No. Oh, wait. No. One more try. No. Okay. Let's move on. I don't have it. I thought I had the Marmak in front of me. Okay, let's continue. So now comes along. Now let's go. What are we going to go into next? How should we do it? Should we play a timeline, or should we do it in din? What does Zaylam think is what? Timeline's easier for the brain to understand. Okay, so in timeline, fine. So in timeline, then we have to go backwards. Then we have to go even before the 9th month. And let's bring up some of the classical shilas for the next few minutes, and then you will probably have to continue from there. Let's start all the way back with how far back should we go? Let's go all the way back to her becoming pregnant. Are you allowed to take a pregnancy test in Shabbos? Are you allowed to take a pregnancy test in Shabbos? So before you ask what's the heter, beautiful. What's this? Good. Now the reason why it's an important shayla, good, it goes even one more step back. Good, one more step back. Oh, well, obviously not electrical one, but let's go one step back. When is this also relevant? This is relevant for all types of tests that one wants to do on Shabbos. This could be relevant for a strep test that one wants to do on Shabbos. This could be relevant for a COVID test. In everyone remembers the incessant amounts of COVID testing that some people were doing by the hour. So this is the question. The question is, there's two sugyas that converge over here. It's called Saveya, it's called Kaisiv. Because what happens is, again, the test that I'm referring to is the test, which what the COVID tests were, which a lot of the pregnancy tests are. Ovulation tests are similar. Some of the home strep tests are the same way. Is that the way that it works is however you get your data, whether it's a urine stick, whether it's a throat swab, whether it's a nose swab, you take that, you put it into water, then you take a drop of that and you drop it onto a tester. Again, did I lose everyone? Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Since the world of COVID, even the 4-year-olds know how to do this, especially in Eretz Yisrael, because there was crazy. I mean, it was crazy everywhere, so it doesn't make a difference. But were they testing here to go to school? That was an Eretz Yisrael thing, right? Yeah, we were testing to go to school, Baruch Hashem. So you drop it on the thing, and then it runs down the guy, and then if you get 2 lines, you're positive. You get 1 line, you're negative. Everyone knows. So now, the question is, you get the wrong line. Oh no, you got to do it again. Okay, you get fine. So now the question is, this is called Seveya and Kaisiv. Now, in order to really answer this question, we have to understand what's the chiluk between Seveya and Kaisiv. Because one would think, which malacha would you think it is? Seveya. That's what you would think it's Seveya, right? But the pashas is it's Kaisiv. And the reason is, there's a fundamental chiluk between Seveya and Kaisiv. Kaisiv is giving over knowledge. What do you do when you write? When you write, you give over knowledge. Seveya is not giving over knowledge. Seveya is painting a picture, painting the background in the lashon of the stipler. What? Is painting the background, the reka as they like to call it, the background. That's Seveya. So over here, the pashas is it's not Seveya. Rather, the pashas is it's Kaisiv, because you're giving over knowledge. Now, it doesn't really make a difference. The only difference it makes is that it probably isn't Seveya, because it's being done al yedei, I don't know if we'll call it a grama, or we're going to call it that it takes time. But in the world of Seveya, you're getting your knowledge that needs to be done. And therefore, the shayla is, what is the story over here? Now, interesting, in the world of a pregnancy test, it's a little less direct. Some of them is that if a woman is going to urinate directly onto the stick, it might not be called the Maisa B'Yadayim. Again, it's different taking a dropper and dropping down a thing, whereas than one urinating on the thing. So the basic answer is all these things should be avoided. That's the basic answer, because they're all very big shaylas and most places are machmer. There is, if I remember correctly, a Tzitz Eliezer and Rosh Zalman that says if it's done al yedei grama, then they're more willing, or koyach sheni, then they're more willing to be mekel. Now, the real question is, which is what you said, what's the big tzairech over here to be mekel? So in the world of COVID, in the world of strep, you could understand the tzairech, number one. In the world of ovulation, you could understand a tremendous tzairech. So now, the truth is, in the world of ovulation, I believe what the fertility organizations do is they have it done al yedei goy. They have an akum, they have a guy that comes down and they do all the testing. And then all of this obviously becomes much more lenient, because then it's al yedei akum, and we just have to give the person a label of a chayla. And the world of infertility, there's lots of Rosh Zalmans and whatnot that a woman that can't have children is called a chayla, and therefore he's willing to be mekel on a lot of these things. But but that's good. That's about the ovulation test. When it comes to the pregnancy test, it's much more shver. There is a Tzitz Eliezer that says, some want to suggest what one could maybe do.
Isn't it always, it's never your kind of
Oh, so that's the shilos. They want to suggest maybe if you have your dipstick, so officially you're supposed to urinate on the end of it, on the end of the part, which is the part that's then going to whatever. So some want to maybe suggest that if the woman urinates on the top and then it rolls down onto the indicator part, that might be a potential makom to mekel. But again, that's not good. So that's pashtas should not be done on Shabbos. I mean, we could conjure up other tzrachim, but let's not. In the world of Hilchos Nida that we learned, there could be tzrachim. One has vest days coming up, and maybe they don't want to do bedikas for whatever which reason, or maybe they're not able to do bedikas for whatever which reason, and therefore they want to be mekel that if they know that they're pregnant, like Ramaisha v'chulu. Okay, but Lamaisa, it should be avoided. The next question is, once the point comes that a woman knows she's pregnant, at that point there's a big chilik in her tefillos at this point, because usually, does she know kaidem 40 days? No, there's a few days to shtup in the tefillah for a boy. But usually you're after your time period to daven for a boy, once you know you're pregnant, usually within a few days. And therefore one is not allowed to daven that he has a specific gender child. It's called a tefillah shav, lashon hagemara brachas. And therefore, one should daven that whatever the child is, should be a healthy child. Which brings us to the shayla, are you allowed to find out the gender? You're allowed to find out the gender. So this is one of those things that people are very adamant either way. Either people say it's mutter gomer, there's no isser in the world, or some people say chas v'shalom, you're going to find out the gender. Oh, so what's the side isser? So the answer is that they quote a medrash. They quote a medrash that the medrash says, Eina bracha sharui ela alma shetsamui min ha'ayin. There's no bracha only on that which is hidden from the eye. Which, for example, the Gemaras discuss all over how you shouldn't count. You don't want to count things because when you count things, that makes it a davar shebeminyan, and now there's no bracha on it anymore. There's no bracha on it anymore. And there's Gemaras all over like this. Is this a sif in Shulchan Aruch? Absolutely not. There's no sif in Shulchan Aruch. It's bracha. It's Hashem. It's Hashem. It's the way Hashem works. I should tell you.
What's the baby that?
Oh, because when you find it,
might end up with more money.
no, it's a sakana. Again, the Medrash is saying, Rizik Zilberstein in Teres Yoledes brings this down. And he says he can't say it's usr. Can't say it's usr because there's no isr. But some want to suggest, based on the Medrash, that there's bracha on that which is hidden. When it's not hidden, there's no bracha. So once you find every level of knowledge, now you should know, some people take this extreme. Some people don't do sonograms for this reason, bachlal.
Then why do you walk around with your eyes closed?
So there's different levels. It appears in the Gemara. There are. I'm telling you, it's a medrash. It's a medrash. There are certain sects of Judaism that don't do any sort of testing when a woman is pregnant for this reason particularly. Because generally, obviously, we don't go down that road, and this is one of the reasons why that the detailed test, detailed sonogram, someone also avoid for that reason. The mice in America is not really such a shayla, which is what's it, 22 week? What's the number? What 20 week? Whatever that is. The mice here in America, they don't really ask you. You have to do it, and the mice, there are reasons that you do it. But the reason to not find out the gender is that there's more bracha on something which is hidden. But with that knowledge, one should realize, there's more bracha, but there's also bracha in shalom. There's also bracha in shalom. And if it's going to cause tons of aggravation, whether it's to oneself, one's parents, one's in-laws, one has to weigh with a heavy hand or speak with a wise rav and figure out, should they decide to the good, where the in-laws get involved in. Yeah, the great aunt also gets involved sometimes. You got to know every family dynamic. And therefore, Lamaised is a mutter to find out the gender, but there is a level of bracha brought down in the Medrash based on that sort of carries us through. Just to mention this 20-week scan, if you want to know what the shayla is that they find out things in the scan that cannot be treated. So that's the big shayla. In Eretz Yisrael, many of the Gedolim are very against it. I believe Rav Shmuel also, I don't want to quote him, I didn't see it inside. I believe they say he also is not so into the 20-week scan because they find out things that you can't really help, and it just causes agmas nefesh. On the flip side, if you want to know why he has to do it, so if you tell us the doctor says, what do you mean? Of course we could treat it. What do you mean you could treat it? There's certain surgeries they could do in utero, and there are certain surgeries they could have the team waiting at birth. The counter argument is, if it's that level, usually you figure it out without the 20-week scan. That's usually the interesting science that happens over here, is that if there's a real tzarech, they find out. And then if they find out, then you certainly do. And if you're doing it without finding out, then the pashtus is there's nothing to be done. But either way, that's the shayla. What? Yeah, so it's a memanashach, exactly. Yeah, so but Lamais in Eretz Yisrael, a lot of the Gedolim are against it for that reason. And stam, if you know how the medical world in Eretz Yisrael goes, people are against it because the technicians, what are they called? Technicians, yeah. When they're the one doing the test, sometimes in their language barrier, things happen that cause lots and lots and lots of agmas nefesh. And this will conclude, for example, the bedside manners when we're not talking bad of anyone. This is just the mitzias. When this Israeli girl is trying to translate into English for this American couple as she's doing the scan, so she's like wait, where's second leg? And the woman's sitting there freaking out, like, oh my gosh, the baby doesn't have a leg. I find the leg. Oh, Baruch Hashem. And then she continues, 8 finger? Where's 9? And then, these are real stories. And then, the chulu. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Yeah, don't worry, everything's fine.
It's only okay.
Everything's fine.
Okay, it's okay.
Take the result and bring it to your doctor. He'll tell you. tummy, what's the problem? Then you got to wait 3 weeks, go to your doctor, and you freak out. But that's dealing with Israeli society, which is a different shiur.